Zneacry of Yanax, a story based on the science fiction series Watcher in the Fall by Ron Townsen. It wasn't as if he planned to get in this position. It had to be fate and not the good guy. With the sounds of the attacking machines outside, he sat in the alien ship thinking about the circumstances that put him in this position. It really started as a boy that he found his mind overwhelmed with sounds and images of aliens. Thousands of aliens filled the view in his mind. All. Looking as stunned as he felt, the few seconds of the image seemed like hours. Even now, he could vividly identify the smallest detail. The colors, even the smells, overwhelmed his mind. The final image was a strange symbol written in the air by an even stranger alien that seemed to burn into his young mind. Over the years, growing up, Zneacry became fascinated by the stars and galaxies. He collected every book he could about science, the stars, and the sky, and history. Over time, he built a team. Attracted to his vision of creating a great library, a great store of knowledge. His passion erupted with the arrival of the extraterrestrial ship from a nearby star system. Zneacry used all his considerable influence, working hard to convince the government to let him travel with the alien visitors. The day he left his home planet, he charged his team with continuation of his book and data collection vision, giving his promise to return with even more treasures of information. The trip to the new alien planet took a few weeks, as the ship made short jumps, would stop to recharge, then jump again. During the trip, the blue-skinned humanoid aliens told Zneacry about the ongoing war with the machines, a war Zneacry had never been aware of. Over the next year, Zneacry observed many different alien societies and gathered a wide array of information and treasured books. One vivid memory occurred on the third planet he visited, the evening of his 8th night. Javar, his planet companion, took him to an erupting mountain chain. Books from his planet's history talked about such events, but he had never observed the condition. Watching from a position miles above the evolving event, he could see the dancing electric lights and glowing liquid as it spread from mountain to mountain until a glow of over a 30-mountain chain produced a steady flow of golden color, glowing liquid flowing down to the valleys below and eventually into the sea. With Zneacry growing treasure of knowledge, he continued visiting planets. His trading skills continued to grow as he bartered his knowledge and some of the treasures for even more. Having gained great skill at the art of trading, the final step that brought him to this place that could be his last moments of life trapped in a spaceship, hoping not to be targeted by the attacking machines, seemed mundane. Sitting at dinner in a small cafe that catered to off-worlders on the planet Savarin, Zneacry was discussing with a small group the struggle the planets faced. The last step in his journey started with a single question he had to have answered. How did this war start? One of the companions looked at Zneacry and shook his head. I don't rightly know, but if anyone does, it's probably the old guy at the bar. I hear he's one of the few survivors from the original planet and race of the Yanax. Czech replied, walked over to the old man. My name is Zneacry of the planet Yanax. I am a scientist and historian. May I ask you a few questions? I heard you are a survivor of the Yanax. The old man turned to Zneacry with a stare of anger and clenched his teeth. I am not Yanax. The old man turned back to his meager meal, leaving Zneacry standing by the table, a bit surprised. I'm sorry, I did not mean to anger you. I was informed incorrectly. I was told that you might know how the war with the machine started. After a moment of silence, the old man turned back to Zneacry. I too am sorry. I have not talked about the beginning of the war for a very long time. I am of the race of Quints. Please have a seat, and if you buy me a drink of the Varan nectar, I may be able to help you. The two talked well into the night about the history of the Yanax people. Although hinting at an answer to Zneacry's question, the old man never attempted to answer it, instead drawing CZ into story after story of the old man's life before and after the start of the war. While taking notes of the amazing history of the old man, Zneacry was able to finally get a name from the old man Tarku. As the evening evolved into the early morning hours, the two continued to be totally engrossed in the conversation. When the doors were being closed and the chairs lifted from the floor for cleaning, the old man changed the subject. I need to leave in a few hours for the planet Tirka, on the edge of the machine domain. I am old and could use the companionship also. The trip would give us more chances to talk about times gone by. Zneacry looked at Tarko. Yes, I would enjoy that and can be ready in an hour. Where shall we meet? My ship is at a landing area just outside the city by the Great Market. You will see my ship with the marking of Q. I will wait for you till an hour after sunrise. Shri rose, and as he turned to leave, I will be there. I know the landing area. Walking quickly from the building, he rushed to the room where his clothes were kept. Quickly packing X then darted to a dark alley where in the far back area, he moved a few bricks on the building and reached in to retrieve his treasure trove of information in his collection. The next stop was the ship landing area where he arrived before sunrise, quickly locating the spaceship. The ship was old. Not at all like some of the modern ships Zneacry had traveled on. It looked more like a large pipe cylinder. Stepping inside, he found an interior much like a home with weavings and animal skins on the walls and an actual rug on the floor. Again, not like the sterile designs of the new ships. Shirai announced himself and heard the old man asking him to come to the command center. Soon they were on their way to the planet Tirka. Zneacry, for the first time, was able to watch as the old man issued commands to the ship and began to understand how to control the Star Jumper. Tarku did not hesitate to teach Zneacry the details of the ship's controls. Near the end of the lessons, the old man pointed out a special control that placed a force field around the ship. He explained that while it would not protect against a strong attack by machines, it would protect against a single machine attack and give them time to jump from the area to safety. As the trip grew into days, there were signs that the old man was getting weaker. Finally, Zneacry was able to gain time to talk more with Tarku about the start of the war. They settled down in the small, comfortable meeting room, and the old man sighed as he began his story. During the years leading up to the development of the machine's computers, two major races interacted with the Yanax and the Quints. The Yanax, being the most advanced race and original developers of the machine intelligence, organized the effort. They were the first to be destroyed. There existed another race living over 20 stars away. The Quints had been trading with the Yanax, and some worked with the most of the Quints later vanished in battles with the machines. The two races had encountered each other's years before the creation of the machine. The Yanax existed as a relatively advanced society with inquisitive minds, constantly in a search to answer the reason for our existence. A humanoid race trying not to be aggressive, but at times made moves others interpreted as aggressive. Over the years, they developed an ability to travel between the stars. They were able to explore stars and place colonies on a number of worlds. The Yanax continued to expand their search of the stars and one day reached the planet of Onyx. The Yanax, also being a humanoid race, appeared similar to the Yanax. Even though the races shared similarities, the Quints were not as advanced as the Yanax. The Quints were a kind of people with less drive to explore and question. The Quints were basically a trading society, and were eager to form a trading bond with the Yanax. Over the years, the Quints began to travel with the Yanax. As the two societies began to intermingle and spread their joint society across the stars, some Yanax considered the Quints as less than equals and began calling themselves Abs Yanax, believers in superiority. The Abs openly expressed their disagreement with their more open-minded leaders. I knew well the head of the machine intelligence research. Rumors existed related to Trenfell, the head of the research work in computer intelligence, being a member of the ABS. He had a beautiful daughter, Shalna, and she fell in love with a brilliant young scientist of the Yanax background, working in a lowly programming position within the research team. Their love grew. So too did her father's anger and rejection of the work of the young man. Shelna's father caught them in a compromising position one day and attacked the young man. A fight ensued, and Trenfell began to beat the younger man to a point where he may have died. Shalna attempted to break up the fight, and as her father struck out in rage, she fell, hit her head, and died. At this point, the old man's eyes began to water. An expression of sorrow crossed his face. The young man struck back in desperation as Trenfell, in shock by what he had done, froze. The young man was able to flee in despair and anger, and with a quick look back on his beloved lying dead. At this point, Tarku was exhausted, an obvious depression, as Zneacry helped him to his bed and let him rest. As Zneacry went back to his room to take down his notes, he began to wonder how Tarku could know such details and have such an emotional connection. There was more to the story to find out, but it would have to wait till Tarkari had regained strength. With each day, the ship approached closer to the planet, and with each day, Tarkiri's strength seemed to fade till the final day. While Zneacry sat in the control room, the ship made its final 2 jumps on the Taraka landing page just outside a large city. Zneacry rose as the engine shut down and approached Akri's room. As he entered, the old man lay on the bed, seemingly asleep. Softly, Tarku spoke. "My friend, please come here." Zneacry approached the bed and took Tarkri's hollow hand. "My life has been coming to end. I need to pass some information to you. 2 men will bargain for. The boxes in the hold take no less than 4 million Zernax. I suggest you get it in rare crystals. They have the ability to pay. I leave this ship to you. In it, you will find many books about my race, along with books about the Yanax. Take them with my blessing, and all I ask is that you forgive me for my many transgressions." "Dark Rye, my friend, you are kind. I just want you to rest and gain strength. Then we will talk." Zneacry spent the next hour sitting by the old man's side. As with each passing minute, he grew weaker. Slowly, he drifted away to his death. As Zneacry rose, he quietly spoke the words, "I forgive you." Rest well, my friend. With a sudden shaking, alarms went off in the ship. Zneacry rushed to the control room to see that the computer had engaged shields. Sensors showed the city under attack as a mushroom-based cloud rose in a direction away from the city. The communications erupted as the planetary defense systems reported attacks of machine ships. All spacecraft are commanded to stay in place till such time escape corridors can be set up. As Zneacry sat at the console, mesmerized, it appeared as if 1,000 beams of light struck out in all directions. Machine ships seemed to appear, then disappear in a blink as the planetary defense system kicked into high gear, destroying the machine ships as soon as they appeared to the sensors. Over time, the battle seemed to intensify and wane in surges, till Zneacry's mind faded back to the beginning. The sound of an unusual, intense, rolling blast. Bars, attention, back to the current plight. An alien ship, a dead alien, and a world under attack by strange alien machine craft. At the moment, all he could do was wait. Zneacry headed to the old man's room and carefully sealed the body in a large bag, and then pumped out the... Since he didn't know how long he would have to deal with the body of Tarquin, he needed to avoid any complications to himself. Returning to the command rooms, decided to leave as soon as possible and told the ship to prepare a trip to Yanax, giving it the landing spot next to his home. He wanted to leave as soon as an escape channel was announced. He couldn't worry about the traders. His first business was to get as far away from the machines as possible. Having moved to the kitchen sink, felt the ship shift as the engines engaged. By the time he reached the command center, the sensor showed the ship well outside the star system. As it reached for its next jump, his journey home had begun. But the journeys of his life were barely beginning by the time the ship landed at Zneacry's home planet. He had cataloged many of the articles in the ship and the ship's hold. The treasures were immense, and the history of the two races of Ansei and the Yanax was extensive. The treasures were just magnificent check of Yanax became wealthy, beyond even those men of power, a man whose power and recognition spread.
Please like and subscribe the Watcher in the Fall channel.